There's a strange moment that almost everyone experiences at least once in life. You are going about your day, doing ordinary things, working, scrolling, eating, trying to focus, and suddenly they are there again. Their face appears in your mind, their voice echoes in your thoughts. A memory rises without warning. You didn't invite it. You didn't choose it. Yet it keeps happening, quietly and persistently, as if your mind has developed a will of its own. At first you try to ignore it. You tell yourself it's nothing serious. You label it as habit, imagination, coincidence. You say it will pass. But deep down, you feel the difference. This is not casual thinking. This is not nostalgia. This is not boredom filling empty space. This feels alive. It feels charged. It feels as though something underneath the surface has already begun to move. When you can't stop thinking about someone, something is already happening within you. Even if nothing is happening between you and them, and understanding this can completely change how you see your thoughts, your emotions, and yourself. There is an important difference between remembering someone and being mentally activated by them. Memory is passive. It appears briefly, usually triggered by something external. A song, a place, a familiar smell. The memory comes and then fades, but when you can't stop thinking about someone, the process is different. The thoughts don't fade. They repeat. They return when you least expect them. They surface when your mind is quiet, and even when it is busy. This is not simple memory. This is activation. Activation happens when someone has touched something unresolved inside you. It might be emotional, psychological, or deeply symbolic. Your mind is not replaying the person for entertainment. It is working through something unfinished, something that has not yet found its place within you. Until that inner process is acknowledged, the thoughts will keep returning, no matter how much you try to push them away. The human mind does not fixate without reason. When one person occupies your thoughts repeatedly, it is rarely about chance. It is because that person represents something important to your inner world. Often it has very little to do with who they actually are as a person, and everything to do with what they awakened inside you. They may represent a version of yourself you are beginning to become. They may represent a feeling you rarely experience: peace, excitement, safety, desire, or emotional depth. They may represent a connection that disrupted your emotional patterns, or a possibility your life has not yet resolved. The mind fixates when it senses unfinished meaning. It is signaling that something mattered, and that it should not be dismissed too quickly. One of the strongest reasons you can't stop thinking about someone is emotional incompletion. This is not always about dramatic endings or painful goodbyes. Sometimes it is much quieter. It happens when things ended without understanding, when feelings were never spoken, when a connection stopped abruptly, or when you never truly knew what you meant to each other. The brain struggles with unfinished emotional loops. When an emotional experience begins but does not conclude, the mind keeps returning to it, trying to resolve it internally. Every thought is an attempt to understand what never fully unfolded. This is why time alone does not always heal these thoughts. You can stay busy. You can move forward. You can even meet new people. Yet the mind still circles back because the emotional equation was never balanced. Over time, something subtle happens. The person you keep thinking about slowly becomes less of a person and more of a symbol. Your thoughts are no longer about their actions, their words, or their presence. They're about what they represent. They may symbolize safety, longing, freedom, recognition, emotional intensity, or the feeling of being truly seen. At this stage, your mind is not chasing the person. It is chasing the feeling associated with them. That is why the thoughts feel emotional even when you try to be logical. That is why hearing their name or remembering their face creates a physical reaction in your body. They have become a psychological symbol, and symbols bypass logic. They speak directly to the unconscious. There is also something else at work, something many people sense but struggle to explain. Even without communication, without messages, without contact, the connection seems to linger. You think of them randomly. You feel drawn to check on them. You sense their presence during moments of silence. This is not because they are consciously thinking about you in the same moment. It is because your psyche has not released the emotional bond yet. When two people connect deeply, their emotional systems attune to each other. Even after separation, the imprint remains. Your mind still recognizes their emotional signature. The connection may no longer exist in the physical world, but internally, something is still unfolding. Sometimes, persistent thoughts are not about the other person at all. They are messages from within you. The mind often uses people as mirrors. If you can't stop thinking about someone, it can help to ask yourself who you were when you were connected to them. How did you feel about yourself around them? What part of you came alive? Very often, the answer reveals something missing in your current life. Your mind is not necessarily asking you to return to that person. It may be asking you to return to yourself. The thoughts are pointing toward an unmet need, a neglected desire, or a forgotten version of who you are. Emotional intensity plays a powerful role in all of this. Intensity creates memory, but emotional intensity creates imprint. If your connection with this person felt unusually strong, whether it was joyful, painful, or confusing, it left a deep mark on your nervous system. The mind does not measure time when forming attachments. It measures intensity. This is why brief encounters can sometimes linger longer than long relationships. The psyche is drawn back to whatever disrupted its emotional balance the most. You may also notice that these thoughts tend to surface at night. During the day, logic and distraction keep the unconscious quiet. Responsibilities, noise, and stimulation hold emotions at bay. But at night, defenses soften. The subconscious rises. This is when unresolved feelings come forward. That person appears in your thoughts not because you are weak, but because your inner world finally has space to speak. Nighttime thinking is often the truest form of thinking, unfiltered and honest. What is most important to understand is this: if you can't stop thinking about someone, something is already happening inside you, not externally, but internally. Your emotional structure is shifting. You are questioning something about yourself, about connection, about desire, or about meaning. The person is simply the trigger. Your mind is reorganizing itself around a new awareness, and that process cannot be rushed. Many people make the mistake of fighting these thoughts. They distract themselves constantly. They shame themselves for feeling. They tell themselves they should be over it by now. But resistance only strengthens the loop. Thoughts persist when they are pushed away. When you stop fighting them and start observing them, their intensity slowly changes. Instead of asking how to make the thoughts stop, it is more helpful to ask what they are trying to show you. What part of you is asking for attention? What truth is trying to surface? When you listen rather than resist, The thoughts soften naturally. Eventually, there comes a moment when the thoughts begin to fade. Not because you forgot the person, not because you replaced them, but because you integrated the lesson they brought into your life. You reclaimed the part of yourself that was activated. You understood what the connection revealed about you. That is when the mind finally rests. So if you can't stop thinking about them, do not see it as weakness. Do not dismiss it as coincidence. Do not label it as obsession. See it for what it truly is. Awareness knocking gently on the door of your consciousness. Something meaningful has been stirred. Something important has already begun. And once you understand what that something is, the thoughts will no longer control you. They will guide you. And then, quietly, they will let you go.